almost 5 years ago, we released our first report on residential boarding schools in Tibet, showing that schooling in Tibet today is mostly residential. With approximately 1 million Tibetan children, at least 78% of students living separated from their parents and families in the state-run boarding system. But what we didn't know with any certainty, due to China's near total information blackout on Tibet, was the actual conditions in the schools. Sadly, our second report reveals new evidence of children facing serious abuse and neglect. Loss of language to the extent that one person describes Tibetan children in his area as like kids raised in a foreign country. Parents unable to parent or protect their children, prevented from helping them when they're sick, unable to intervene to stop abuse, not even allowed to decide what they can do when they're home on vacation. And children are experiencing alienation that is leading to deep psychological and emotional harm. Recently, we received an account from a former student that speaks to the extent of both routine abuse and extreme violence that children in the schools face. A monk until his parents were forced to send him to boarding school, he describes how difficult it was to be away from home, especially in grade 1 and 2, constantly missing his parents, home, and having to be responsible for everything on his own. He said, quote, "When it came to bullying and punishment, the environment was quite severe. Injuries such as broken hands, fractured fingers, bruised backs were common. Over time, students began to normalize this treatment and rarely told their parents. It was so widespread that no single incident stands out. There are simply too many," end quote. Eventually, this child and several others tried to escape from the boarding school and return to the monastery, but they were caught by police, taken to a police station, beaten, tortured with an electric device before being returned to the boarding school. Our report highlights many other cases of abuse, including children being beaten for wearing Buddhist protection cords around their necks, for saying prayers, children becoming deaf after being hit too many times on their ears and their heads. And we've documented multiple cases of suicide, attempted suicide, and death because of abuse and neglect. The Canadian former UN Special Rapporteur for Minority Rights called this system of schooling an existential threat for Tibetans and said that he is not afraid to use the word cultural genocide. He said this, I quote, "I want to emphasize this is a massive in scale, but massive in terms of the grave violations of the human rights of children and their families and the individuals involved to a scale which is actually almost inconceivable. Canada should investigate sanction and put visa restrictions on Chinese officials who are designing or implementing these policies that are intended to erase Tibetan identity, and also on the authorities at the schools where physical abuse and negligence is known to be taking place. And with China's upcoming review by the UN Committee on the Rights of the Child, Canada needs to work with like-minded governments to increase pressure on Beijing to abolish the colonial boarding schools system and to guarantee access to culturally and linguistically appropriate education for Tibetan children while they live at home. Thank you.
Thank you. Very well respected.